Hey, good morning, guys. November 6th. It's Wednesday. It's ahead of the market open. Let's take a look at GameStop. I know there was a lot of excitement about GameStop last night. We did see it hit $24, up 4.37% overnight trading on Robinhood. But let's drill into some of that option data. I know there was a lot of excitement. I kind of gave everybody I didn't want to contribute to taking any of your energy and time yesterday and just kind of sat back. It was with friends and family and took in the day. And well, here we are this morning. Want to take a look? Let's jump right into some of that net flow we saw yesterday. Premium, total premium, about 14.3 million. Net premium, though, a positive 1.7 mil. And we saw some of that net call premium start to spike here. Let's see, we're looking at about 2:30 New York time. We start seeing that start to trickle in a little bit here, and we'll drill into where those calls and where did that option flow actually come from. Net call premium ended at 1.65 mil. So if we take a look here, and I'll zoom this in for you, some of the highest volume contracts yesterday, and we'll break those down in detail. We saw the $25 calls for next week, $25 calls for this week, the 23 for this week, the 22, 24 and 30 for next week, as well as 45 for this week. Those were the top volumes. 30 as well for this week. $20 in the money calls for next week was also on there for the top volume. So let's take a look at some of those in greater detail. We'll take a look over here at our trusty hottest contracts. This is where we take all the contracts for the day and then we sort them by highest premium. In this instance here, the top three we're going to focus on this morning. We have the $25 call for next week with 1.61 million in premium. The $20 call for next week, which is in the money at 1.29 million total premium, and the $23 call for this week, 1.02 million in total premium. So let's take a look at those 25s yesterday, because we did see 20,321 volume, open interest, 18,164. Let me pull this up here. We can actually take a look at that activity, and this is what we were seeing yesterday when we saw those orders come in. You can see here at the ask 5,020, look like a 5,000 plus order fill. I'm going to pull the actual order flow tape here in just a second, and we can see some of those additional, some of that asking, ask and bid, and there's some bid there showing up. You can see. So these essentially could have been bought here 70, and that first move up with the spike in volatility 83 could have shaved some of that position off. Then up to 97, some of those were being filled. So some of those could have been trimmed. So you do see a little bit of bid volume yesterday, 5,301, in addition to the ask of 13,719, and then a little bit of that bid volume there into the close. So we can take a look at that. Like I said, yesterday was 20,264 volume. 9,329 did appear in new open interest. So total premium on that particular strike yesterday was the 1.629. It does say about 67% of the volume at the ask. So let's take a look at some of those actual fills here. That's kind of what set it off here. So we'll take a look at this first big block right here. We'll pull up the order, which makes it kind of easy here with unusual whales. And we'll filter this over here. We'll sort it. Let's do a sort by size here. We can see that size. 4,369 was the size here as part of that flow alert. Like I said, there was 5,000 plus filled right there, 5,000. And that was alerted on unusual whales for repeating hits, ascending fill. And you can set custom alerts. I've posted videos before how to set those custom alerts so you can kind of see when those happen. And these were sweeps. Sweep to fill order is a type of market order in which a broker splits the order in numerous parts to take advantage of the order sizes at the best prices currently offered on the market. So the order at 5,000, and then you can see how it's filled. Different, it's even at different exchanges there, and that's how it'll happen with a large order, depending on who's filling it. So they can see the first bulk there on Arco exchange, a few other exchanges. So yeah, they were definitely trying to fill that order. And did it very quickly. If you look at the time, 13:53, so 1:53 Chicago time, 2:53 New York. So they're able to fill that very quickly, all within the same nanoseconds. So definitely saw that one. Let's take a jump back over here and take a look at it again as well. Take a look at that second big block that came in. So we can try to get a feel for what happened here with some of that size. Let's see here. Here's the other one in that same block. So still some size that came to follow. after the initial wave, because obviously the every flow service was going to report that 5,000 block. I saw the post. So then some additional. You see some bid as well there. It could be selling there. The reason you say that is the spot price here, 85. See the bid and the ask at the time, 85, 87. So if it fills closer to the bid or at the bid, it's always going to be denoted bid. If it fills at the ask, it's always going to be denoted ask. That doesn't necessarily mean 100% it was bought and or sold. So sometimes you can get a decent fill, especially in the like in the midst of volatility. That can sometimes happen, and that was part of a larger flow alert on that second wave of calls that did come in. And that, like I said, primarily triggered by this activity here. And I mean, that was about 375,000 in premium, to be honest with you. I mean, somebody with a fund could, or with, that kind of cash or that type of risk appetite, could buy those, push the IV, and then sell them and just capture the profit. So that's always something, to consider with these scenarios, especially on a short dated call. Short dated meaning expires next week. Not a lot of time there. So theta is actively burning. And the alert for volume over open interest shortly there into the close. That was just because more volume had occurred during the day than what was open interest. So some of those contracts, even though there's 20,000 volume, only 9,000 appeared in new open interest. Some of those could have changed hands. Something we'll continue to watch. I've got a few filters set up, so we'll continue to kind of monitor those, and see what has it. With this stuff, you take it with a grain of salt. You look at it daily. You watch for continued flow, continued volume, continued transactions, and that's kind of what we look for. So let's take a look at those $20 that were also in the money calls that came through yesterday. Let's take a look at that here for next week expiry. About 1.3 mil total premium. You can see here bid 2,089, volume ask 1,607. So definitely split between buyers and sellers. Of the 4,300 volume yesterday, about 1,400 appeared in new open interest. So it could be selling calls, could be a short buying calls to get shares at $20. There's multiple different scenarios. Somebody could have bought a call because they want to get GameStop shares at 20. That's something you can do as well. So let's see here. Did see some activity there, 278, and then a larger order there at 305 on the fill price. So that could have been some winding some of that down that someone already had, in addition to here. So you kind of never know. You just take it day by day. Try to look at the total premium. Try to look at the volume. Try to look at the open interest. And then you just look for the follow through. What comes next. You just continue to watch the volume and the volume chain. And let's take a look at those $23 calls for this week as well. Saw activity. See 15,000 volume yesterday against open interest of only 7,000. That kind of is like, okay, cool. There's more contracts coming in than open interest. There could be some direction there. Those calls at 23 did close in the money, or right at the money, because I think it was 23 and then adjusted close 22.99. Those were alerted quickly into the open yesterday. Average fill around $59. They did spike there into power hour at 90. So almost a double on that. So anybody that was entering here yesterday morning might have been selling here into the afternoon. 15,000 volume, but only 2,143 appeared new open interest. Total premium about $1 million there. When I say total premium, that's buying and selling. It's just total premium combined there. So always something to consider. A little bit heavier on the bid than the ask, although the open interest did increase. These were technically out of the money yesterday and into the close, $22.99 at 23 in the money. Based on today's pre-market number, they're in the money if that sticks. So, and those were for this week's expiry. But some of the other ones that were on the list for top premium yesterday was the 22s for this week, 25s, 20s for January saw a little bit of activity. The 20s for this week as well, 24s for this week, $30 calls next week. I mean, not a put in sight other than the $23 puts for November 8th was the last ones, $23. That's what I see yesterday, November 8th expiry. So that's like only the only put that I see in sight on the option top premium, but about 124,000 total premium on that. So let's actually take a look at that. See what was going on. There's some let's see, selling puts offers a bullish sentiment as long as you're not, you're selling to open in hopes that the stock closes above that and you capture the difference. Also, sometimes you sell puts because you're closing your position. So two different ways to do that. About 1,400 volume yesterday. Open interest increased about 433. So did see some bid volume and some ask volume there on those 23 puts. Let's take a look also too at the. I want to pull up the chart here. And let's take a look at some of those daily moving averages. We talk about those often. I'm showing 23, but I think it was adjusted close at 22.99. Take a look at the far left side of your screen there. We have the 9 EMA at 22.27, the 20 EMA at 21.88, and the 50-day SMA at 21.63. A little bit higher volume yesterday. We had that 920 kind of EMA bullish cross here back on the 28th that came with higher volume. We saw increased volume the following days, kind of an indecisive candle. And then October 30th, we did see a new higher daily high. And then a little bit of consolidation the last four sessions with the 9 EMA kind of acting as support there. And the 50 SMA has been acting as support. Last time we were above the 50 SMA was back end of late September, and it didn't hold too well. Now we're up here above the SMA again. So I kind of like look at moving averages, volume, focus on the price action. But let's enable extended trading hours data so we can see where we're at in pre-market here. We'll jump off the daily. Let's see, I got a 24.13 high in pre-market. So a little bit higher. So if that stays with the market open, that's a new higher daily high. So definitely take a look at that. Some of that volume there right at the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock a.m. New York time. Usually when you see a lot of brokers come on, some buying and selling. Looks like trading over 23.49. So about up 50 cents compared to where it was at the close yesterday. I'm going to zoom out of that and go to that weekly chart. It's still been pretty tight. So it's still pretty range bound here. Still in range. Higher volume last week. So we'll definitely just take a look at it. We'll take a look at the flow. Continue to monitor it. Obviously, I always feel that we're always a potential Reddit YOLO post away or a post from Roaring Kitty on X. So those are always catalysts that you never know are around the corner. There's incredible positive sentiment around the stock market this morning, and the GameStop in general, as well as a lot of names are very positive. Let's look at the highest open interest contracts here. Highest OI at the 125 call. The 25 call for January of 25 has got the highest at 25. And that's as the price moves up closer to 25, you start introducing gamma. So we need to start talking about that. We talked about it in the last few videos. We talked about the spot gamma. For those that missed those videos, spot gamma exposure. And you can pause or take a screenshot here, do what you need to do for the video. Spot gamma exposure, the assumed value of gamma exposure that market makers need to hedge per 1% change of the underlying stock's price movement. A positive value is long gamma, while a negative value is short gamma. So in theory is if they're long, positive gamma is green, short gamma to the downside. So in this case, gamma per 1% price change, about 14, almost 15 million. So it can get pricey. GameStop can move a little bit. You see the net gamma exposure here. Something to talk about now. The spot here at 23.70, the price. You can see some of that open interest at 24, but look at 25, it could get a little more exciting there. That's what you look for. As you talk about, people talk about gamma squeeze, or how does that happen? As the spot price moves closer to that 25 strike, it becomes a little bit more expensive to gamma hedge, and increase buying pressure, increase call buying, increase positive sentiment. And you saw what happened over the summer when gamma would increase, and boom, you see the stock move like you saw with some of those moves over the summer with the high volume and the call option activity. If we go down to like gamma exposure by strike, it's all targeted right there at 25, with the largest amount of net gamma is right there at the 25 strike. And below that would be at the 24 and the 23. You can see that call gamma, the net gamma at 25. And then that gamma picks up again, at 26, 28, and 30. So any upward move on the stock, any catalyst, positive news, that could get interesting. If you want to look at the gamma exposure by the expiry, the largest net gamma is for this week expiry. Second to that would be next week, the 15th, which is the November monthly OPEX, we call it, option expiry, monthly option expiry, followed by that January 17th. And we've been sharing a lot of calls targeting this week expiry, next week, as well as the January 17th. So that's kind of where the most of the net gamma is when it's come time to, when we're talking about the actual expiry date here. Let's click Delta over here for just a second. You know, look at daily Delta exposure. That's what's great about here with Usual Whales, the other platforms as well. I'm not sure how they operate. You get a lot of information in EDU within the platform. So your delta exposure is just the assumed delta exposure that market makers are exposed to in that regard. So with price, you can see here, for example, you go back over the summer, you can see the price, as price moved up, that delta exposure moved up. So that's kind of the same thing as you see here, October and now into November. Delta exposure just ticking up just a little bit. And if you look at delta exposure by strike, 25 net delta, and at 20 the highest. So there's some delta in there. Just something to look for. You know, these are the, a little bit more in depth on the Greeks here. It's just something also to consider. It's a lot more than just buying and selling and loading calls and puts. Let's take a look at, where is that money? Where does that money move? Where is the open interest at? What type of exposure does that offer if GameStop moves closer to 25? If it goes past 25, that brings in the $30. So, definitely something to consider. I mean, nobody has a magic 8 ball. We just try to take a look at all the data and, put your best hypothetical plan moving forward. Always manage your risk, trade your plan. Cash as a position is good. Capital preservation above anything else, but always manage your risk. It's very smart. Just protect yourself no matter what trade you're in. So definitely interesting here with that gamma. Any move up or any catalyst, any noise, any just continued sentiment, buying, upward movement of the stock with the market. I mean, for example, markets are responding this morning to the election outcome. And for example, if we take a look at our election news, if we take a look at, I'm going to pull up like the Russell 2000 here, because I'm pretty sure that was like a 5-point move, which is insane. A great move anyway, but for an index, it's a big move. Yeah, look at the big gap up on Russell. So yesterday closed 226.74. It's at 236, $10 move on the Russell, which is pretty incredible because around 240, I believe 242 might be the 2021 high. I know a lot of you were trading IWM during 21. Who wasn't? We were rallying during 21, but let's see where that was at. Yeah, here we go. 21. I pulled up the monthly here. So shout out Russell 2000. Yeah. So 220, see, right? We're in line with those 2021 highs. So pretty remarkable. It's taken some time. It's taken some time to get that Russell back. But yeah, that was something I had noticed this morning. A significant gap up. And I know SPY was blazing as well. Let's pull up the daily there. Turn on extended hour data so we can look. A gap up as well, 588.72. I know Tesla, I think, was close to 290 almost in pre-market this morning. So same levels we've shared on our chart. I hope you've been using these. Tesla's been a cash cow. We've used these levels for weeks now. 281.94 with a high 289.95 pre-market. That's pretty remarkable. Incredible gap up. And let's see if we zoom out that Tesla. I know we kind of got off base from GameStop, but just a few last things to say before I wrapped it up. But Tesla's up there. We're back around. Let's see, 22 highs. That was an interesting time when Tesla was at 400, 250. But yeah, market is responding today. So always manage your risk, trade your plan, have fun. We'll continue to monitor the data, monitor the flow. It's always worth looking at. If you have Unusual Whales, you can always monitor all this data in real time. The Unusual Whales platform does deliver the option data in real time. It's not a summarization like other services are and offer. This is actually the data as it happens in real time. I can literally watch. I wouldn't because it comes in way too fast. But you can literally watch every single order pour through line by line, contract by contract, filtered or not filtered, whatever you want. It's always available there. So that's one thing why I always use it. It helps to look at the actual data. So I mean, like it doesn't matter. GME here pulling up. You can look at like the very last. What was the very last? Oh, that was GM. Because I was like 60. What are they talking about? 60. I saw the 60 there. So you can see there on GME 25s. Let's see, we're hitting that right at the. Was there another flow alert for the 25s? Yeah, it looked like some selling. So somebody might have just trimmed the position. Somebody could also be. Somebody could have shares and they could sell covered calls. They may feel GameStop won't close above 25, so they'll sell a covered call in hopes to capture that premium. And if it doesn't close above 25, they would keep that premium and keep their money. So selling calls in that regard is like a bearish sentiment, but it does generate income, and it's been a very common strategy since 2021 for both AMC and GameStop. I see it all the time. Plenty of retail investors that may not have had the best average on the stock price, who have done more than very well for themselves by basically selling calls against their position. You got to know what you're doing. It can go south on you, but it can also be lucrative. So if you've got a strategy and a plan, it can work. And with your fellow investors out there, there are plenty that do this. So it's an open market, and we're all kind of open to make the money how we see fit. So always something to take a look at. Make sure you watch the video, take a look, go back, pause anything you need. I'll be posting other flow and anything that I see today. As always, if you got a question, drop it down in the replies, send me a message. Always happy to take a look at something or share data. But yeah, it is Tuesday, November 6th, ahead of the market. Or pardon me, Wednesday, November 6th, ahead of the market open. Hope you guys have a fabulous day.